I want to welcome you back to the D'Lo Show. I'm Ryan D'Lo Delosier, and I got another episode for us today. Most missing person cases begin with a last scene. Where did you see them? The grocery store, workplace, the front porch. This story, the story of David Glen Lewis. This one's out there. You can check this one out. This has been covered quite a bit by some other podcasters, but the result of this is this happened in Yakima. So the story of David Glen Lewis doesn't just begin with his disappearance. It begins with a transition so bizarre that it defies the laws of time and even geography. David was a man of logic. He was a former judge, a practicing attorney, and a family man in Amarillo, Texas. He lived in a world of evidence and facts. Evidence and facts. But on January 31st, 1993, David walked out of this world of facts and into a mystery that would remain frozen for 11 years. Now, how does a man watching the Super Bowl in Texas on Sunday on January 31st, 1993, end up dead on a highway in the Pacific Northwest in Yakima on a Monday? Super Bowl Sunday in Texas, in Yakima, on a suburb highway, east side of town, 1,600 miles away. How do you travel 1,600 miles in 24 hours without a car, without a plane ticket, or even your own clothing? Today, we are looking at the death of David Glen Lewis, a case that proves sometimes the more clues you find, the less you actually know. All right, so let's go back to that date, January 1993, to set the stage for this. Amarillo, Texas. David, at the time, he's 39 years old. He is well respected within the community of Amarillo. Through his friends have noted that he's been acting a little off lately. Attorneys have stuff to deal with things, and I imagine stuff gets to their head a little bit. A few days prior, he left work early. He was complaining that he didn't feel well. Yet, he still showed up to teach his class that night. He also taught classes. 39-year-old making a few extra bucks on the side. He was a man of duty, even when he was struggling. So on Sunday, January 31st, David's wife Karen and their children are in Dallas for a shopping trip, and David is home alone. It's Super Bowl Sunday. It's Cowboys versus the Bills. And being a Texan, yes, I don't understand this, but I guess if you're in, I love the Seahawks, but I live in the state of Washington. Rain or shine, win or lose, I am a Seahawks fan. I'm going to wear my Seahawks stuff. And I would imagine David, and being a Texan, he and living near Dallas, he probably grew up loving the Cowboys. Good, bad, ugly, however they are. They were pretty good at this time, but he's probably not going to miss being from Texas. He's probably not going to miss the Super Bowl. So this is a big deal. Okay, David actually, this kind of cracks me up a little bit because David sets his VCR to record the game. Yeah, those of you maybe not familiar with this, it's in the podcast age now, and a lot of us who listen to these, I kind of had to laugh a little. He set his VCR, yes, the little recording thing where you put the tape in there. He recorded the Super Bowl. People used to do this. They would record the game. It's a big game. Want to go back and watch it? We didn't have the live fast forward rewind to be able the ability like we do now to be able to digitally fast forward rewind, go back and look, zoom in with that great high quality stuff. No, we didn't have that back then. We had the VCR. So carrying on with this right here. So he sets his VCR, gets it ready to record the game, but when Karen returns home, the house has an eerie feeling to it. The VCR is still there, the recording is finished, but David is gone. He's not there. And as we continue with this, going a little bit further, it wasn't a kidnapping scene. Okay, no one snuck in and grabbed him. There was no struggle. Instead, there was a series of deliberate placements On the kitchen counter, Karen finds David's wedding ring and his watch. And for a man who never took those items off, this appears as though it was some sort of message. Soon, his Ford Explorer is found. It's hidden in a lake or a ditch along the way. It's parked in front, or it isn't hidden there. Like it isn't just dumped off somewhere. Okay, it's not dropped off in a lake or a ditch or anything like that. It's parked in front of the Amarillo City Hall and courthouse. And then inside the car, police find his wallet, his credit cards, and his driver's license. The keys are tucked nearly under, or just neatly under the floor mat. And people did this at the time. They'd throw their keys under the mat, and then their car would be there later. And this was one of the ones too, just to know that these Ford Explorers, Ford had a feature at the time where you could just leave the keys in the car, and you didn't need them to enter it. It was kind of a fancy keyless entry thing. I mean, for a Ford. I've always been a Chevy guy, but you put a code on the handle before you entered in, so you could punch the code in and it would unlock the door. So he probably just did that. I mean, I think a lot of people did at the time. It's probably a way to circumvent that now, and you probably don't want to leave your keys in your car, but this is what David had done at the time. So to the local police, this just looked like a voluntary missing case where he just took off and left his wallet, wedding ring, everything. He just left, decided to be done. 39 years old, struggled a little bit, and just decided, I'm going to go off and start a life somewhere else. So, I mean, that could be a possibility. A man who had reached his breaking point and decided to just walk away from his life. Okay, go to a different one. So, if David was starting over, though, he was doing it with no money. He was doing it without his ID. He didn't even have a vehicle. Okay, he left all those things. He left everything. And then the first glitch in the timeline appears. So a neighbor swears they saw David's car in his driveway on Sunday morning. But a police officer also recalls seeing the same red Explorer parked at the courthouse the night before on Saturday. So here's some conflicting information. Was it in the driveway, or was it parked out in front of the courthouse? Or was it both? Put it there and then back? I don't know. If the officer was right, David's car was already at the courthouse while David was still home recording the football game. So when a lawyer goes missing, we want to go back and take a look and see what kind of cases he was working on, because there could be some things there too. You want to look at his past, and with an attorney, there's some things that they're dealing with, and some people, I mean, they're dealing with people that have legal issues. So we want to go back and we want to take a look at what kind of cases David was dealing with at this time. So David had a massive cloud hanging over his head. He was a defendant in a $3 million conflict of interest lawsuit. And this is 1993, so $3 million is a lot of money at that time. I mean, I would say that is over 30 years ago. We're probably looking at that being about maybe 15 to 21 million now, just adjusted for inflation, things like that. So legal experts will tell you that the pressure of a $3 million suit, that kind of legal suit, can break a person. But there's a detail here that moves this from stress to suspicion. David was the last person scheduled to be deposed in that case. And when he disappeared, all the legal files, the physical evidence, paperwork he was keeping for that deposition, those vanished with him. And then there's the money. Okay, investigators found that an anonymous $5,000 deposit had been made into David's account right before he vanished. Where did that money come from? No one knows. And then we have the man with the role. A taxi driver at the Dallas-Fort Worth airport reported a passenger who looked exactly like David. This man was frantic. He had no luggage, but when it came time to pay the fare, he pulled out this roll of $100 bills to be able to pay the cabbie. If it was David, he was a man in flight. But flight from what? Was he running from the lawsuit? Or was the lawsuit a cover for something much deeper? Remember, David had also been a judge. He told his wife his life was in danger. He had received death threats. In the legal world, sometimes the person on the bench makes enemies who have very long memories. So while Amarillo was looking for a missing lawyer, 1,600 miles away in Yakima, Washington, the State Patrol was dealing with a tragedy out on Highway 24. On February 1st, 1993, 10:30 p.m., a man is walking down State Route 24. It's dark. It's cold. This man is dressed strangely for a Texan lawyer. He's wearing military camouflage fatigues, and he has work boots on. Motorists see him and think, he's going to get hit by a car. It's 10:30 at night. I mean, it's dark out there. This is a two-lane highway. I've driven this one a lot too, as I mentioned stuff that I've been around right here as I do these things. That's an area. It's east of town as you're heading out. If you wanted to head towards the town of Moxie, or if you're going to continue on down, this is kind of a back way. If you've heard of Hanford, so this is kind of the way to get there from Yakima. You would take this way. You could also take I-82 down, but this would be the quickest way. It's a two-lane highway that heads down right there. So yeah, it's not necessarily very well patrolled sometimes. So it's dark, it's cold, and this man, like I said, he's dressed strangely out there. Got his combat fatigues on, like he's hiding from something, and work boots on. So motorists see him and think he's going to get hit, and they turn. So these motorists, they end up turning around to warn him, but they're too late. A vehicle, witnesses think it was a Chevy Camaro, has already struck him. The driver never stopped. The man died on the asphalt 1,600 miles from home, just 24 hours after he was last seen in Texas. And so, for 11 years, Yakima called this individual that was hit by the car on February 1st, 1993. They referred to this individual as John Doe. They had his fingerprints, but David had no criminal record, so there was no match. They had his photo, but no one in Washington recognized him, because he wasn't from Washington. He was 1,600 miles away. It wasn't until 2004 that Detective Pat Ditter decided to use a new age tool. Yeah, this new age tool, it was called Google. Isn't that crazy? Like, we have a new term for that now. Google wasn't even like the biggest search engine then. It was Yahoo back then, if you remember. But now, like, if you want to find something, what do? You Google it. In 2004, Google wasn't even like this. It was new age. It was a big deal. So 26 years ago, it was Yahoo. You went and Yahooed it. No one's Yahooing stuff now. They're Googling things, and it has a whole little term for it. So, but in 2004, like I was saying, this was new age. So he searched for missing man gold rim glasses, and he found the Texas DPS page for David Glen Lewis. And he saw the glasses, he saw the face, and then DNA did the rest. But the identification only made this mystery impossible. How did he get here? To drive from Amarillo to Yakima takes 24 hours if you do it straight. High-speed driving the whole way. David didn't even have his car. Okay, his car was parked out in front at City Hall. There was no plane tickets bought in his name. One from Amarillo to Dallas, or there were plane tickets that were bought in his name, but one was from Amarillo to Dallas and one from LA to Dallas, but none to Washington. And none of the tickets were actually used by him. So we are left with three terrifying possibilities. Okay, first one, David had a mental breakdown. He parked his car, took his emergency cash, and somehow hitched or bust his way across the country in a blur of exhaustion, buying new clothes along the way to hide his identity. Okay, theory one. Theory two, the flight. David was running from the $3 million lawsuit, or a threat we don't understand. He used the LA to Dallas tickets as a decoy, bought camo to blend into the rural Northwest, and was simply the victim of a tragic random accident while trying to disappear. Third one, okay, theory three, the abduction. This is what David's mother believed until the day she died. Someone took David. Someone who knew his schedule, who knew about the lawsuit, and who wanted him. And those legal files, they wanted him gone, and they wanted the legal files gone, out of here. They flew him privately or drove him, dressed him in clothes that weren't his, and perhaps even staged the hit and run. David Glen Lewis was a man who lived by the law, but his death seemed to break every rule of logic that we have. He was a father, a husband, and a judge who ended up a nameless John Doe on a road to nowhere. It feels like it when you drive that one once in a while. Highway 24, it's long, it's straight. I mention it when I talk about the Idaho 4 cases. When you drive from Yakima to Moscow, this is the road you take. It is long, it is straight, it is boring. It's the rolling hills of the Palouse, so beautiful. If you like to look at, yellow cornfields. Anyways, it feels like nowhere. It feels like you are out in Timbuktu or BFE. If you have any information about a Chevy Camaro here, and you know about this that happened in the Yakima area in February 1993. Hey, I had a Camaro in February 1993, but I didn't hit someone on the Highway 24. Or if you know who deposited that $5,000 in David's account, the Washington State Patrol is still waiting for that one final piece of the puzzle. Until then, David's story remains a haunting reminder. You can leave your watch and your ring behind, but you can never truly leave the mystery of who you are. Thank you for listening to the Delo Show. You can find this story. This is a great story. A lot of other podcasters have covered this one as well too. I picked it up because it's a Yakima story. So I looked at some of the Yakima articles. I think they even had I don't know if they called him John Doe, but they did a obituary for him when he had passed away. I think they even did a ceremony because people in Yakima, they cared for this guy and he got hit in our highway and we didn't know who he was. And I'm just grateful to the families that we were able to, our city was able to figure out, State Patrol was able to figure out who he was and let his family know how things had gone about. So stories may go cold, but eventually the truth comes out if we are persistent enough. So keep plugging away at that stuff. The DNA technology, I mean, that was 2004, and we were Googling stuff, and now we're using IgG technology to be able to track people with small pieces of DNA that can be found and taken off of the tip of a pen, and we can figure out someone's whole DNA profile from that. So we are definitely making a lot of advances in the criminal technology and be able to investigate these cases and find out who these people are and be able to solve crimes. And hopefully we can eliminate some stuff, make it less enticing to those individuals, knowing that they're really not going to get away with anything. So, hey, keep listening to these podcasts. If you like them, tell friends, tell family, like, subscribe, all those things. You can, if you want to keep the conversation going, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. You can find me there at the Delo Show. Let's go ahead and send me a comment or send me a message. And let me know if there's any other cases you want me to cover. I'm enjoying doing this, and I hope that you have a great day. Thanks for listening.